What is up? Welcome to episode 13 of Etsy Jam. In this episode, we are joined by Kelly from FitFizz. Kelly is a graphic designer and powerlifter who is focused on being able to one day sell on Etsy full time. She shares some fantastic information about how she keeps herself motivated to be all in on her endeavors, how she stays focused on the things that truly matter, and what her biggest surprise has been since she started selling on Etsy. What is up, guys? Welcome to episode 13 of Etsy Jam. And today we have a very special guest. We have Kelly with us from her shop FitFizz. Kelly's joining us. She was going to join us with her sister, Erica, today, but Erica wasn't feeling well, so that's not going to work out. But maybe we can have her on as a guest later on. We'll see how that goes. But welcome, Kelly. Thank you for joining us today on Etsy Jam. It's great to have you.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
We're excited to have you. Do you want to talk a little bit about your shop? You kind of have a really cool niche of products that you're working on Etsy.
Thanks. Yeah, my shop is FitFizz, FitFizz. And I'm glad you think it's a cool niche because I know there are quite a lot of fitness shops out there. So that's kind of my competition within Etsy. A lot of t-shirts, a lot of handmade jewelry, and which is I do both. And I also have some other accessories that are not so traditional, but things are related to the fitness world. And then my little spin on it is that I'm a competitive powerlifter. So powerlifting is about how strong you can be, as opposed to the bodybuilding world, which most people are more familiar with, where it's how good you look. So a lot of my things are more based on strength. So you're not going to see things about like, hey, check out my six pack. It's not about that kind of stuff. It's more like being strong. So I have a lot of things that just say strength on them and things like that.
Yeah, I really like that.
Thanks. And the strength too can be for, it can apply to more people than just fitness, because you need the inner strength as well as the outer strength.
Mm-hmm. It really made me think too, where a lot of people, when they start to want to get fit, right, and go out there and work on themselves, their appearance, whatever their motivation is, they'll go out and they'll want to buy like all these like trendy workout clothes and like look all nice and get sweet sneakers and everything, right? And that's not what your stuff is about. Your stuff is more about like the motivation behind it and those messages that I think would carry you further into improving whatever somebody wants to improve about themselves. Than having a cool outfit or something like that, or some sweet accessories and stuff. So I really like that about it. That it kind of spoke like deeper, right? And it, to me, seemed like it was a much more personal thing for you to be able to build a product like that than something that was kind of more surface level, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I'm glad you used the word motivation too, because actually, and I don't think I even told you guys this before, FitFizz, before it even existed as an Etsy shop, or before it was a way I was intended to make any money, I just started FitFizz as a Facebook page just to help my friends with motivational fitness things.
Oh, cool.
People who are like, you're always working out. I don't know how you do it. I don't know where to start. And so I just started posting just quotes, or, I'd design cute little things that I felt were inspiring just for my friends, really. And it grew from there. And I had that since 2012. And it wasn't until 2016 that I focused on, I'm going to make some money off of this.
Now, you threw a word in there. You said design stuff. And so the other flip side of this, too, is that your full-time job right now is a graphic designer. And you have your own secret motivation for yourself that eventually you'd like to move on past that and eventually leave your day job and be doing your Etsy shop full-time. Is that right?
Yes, correct. Luckily, I've, had the flexibility to be able, I have a steady paycheck coming in for now. So, I'm able to, I don't want to say take my time building with Etsy, but I do have a personal urgency to build and build and build. But so that's where I'm at with it. And it also has its challenges, because I can't work on FitFizz during the day. It's just at night and on the weekends.
Yep. That's pretty close to home for Richie and I too. We were there once too.
I remember you guys saying that. Yeah.
Definitely feel you on that one. That can be really tough sometimes. And you get home at the end of your workday and there is so much that demands of your time. And especially as a power lifter, right? A lot of your time probably has to be dedicated just to that and maintaining where you're at and improving yourself in that regard too. So balancing, a separate self-employment, type company on the side is a whole nother thing to throw in the mix too.
Yeah, it's a lot. So I train with my powerlifting team. We train as a group on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. So, when I get home on Tuesday and Thursday nights after I worked all day and then I go train, it's usually, and by the time I shower and eat, it's like between 9:30, 10 o'clock. And then I'm like, in my mind, that's when I start my work day. Mm-hmm. Until I just I have to go to sleep.
Yeah, I know how that goes. I know how that goes for sure. Other people have said their secret weapon is caffeine, right? And they just pound caffeine. I'd been there too. It gets really tough though, right? If you're up after midnight a lot, and then you've got to get up early for work the next day. It gets to be really tough.
yeah, it does.
I wish you all the best in that though. That's a really exciting journey to be on, right? And I can think back because it wasn't that long ago that Richie and I were in that same spot, and so it was really challenging, and it was also really exciting at the same time. And making the transition, at least for us, off of our day jobs to doing Marmalade full time, it wasn't. I think it didn't go as smoothly as we thought it would in our heads, but in the end, I was really grateful. Is that how you
imagined it?
No, that is not. I don't want to get into the details of it, but it's not how it was playing out in my head at all. But I think in the end, like it all worked out, and so obviously, I hope the same for you with your movement there. It's really exciting thing to be working on.
I think that things work out the way they're supposed to, even though it doesn't always seem that way. It seems like a common thing in my life anyway, that like, even though something didn't go the way it was planned, looking back on it, everything seemed to go a way that works out, and probably all for the best. So I'm sure that'll happen with you as well.
Thanks. Yeah, I do agree with that too. And it's been helpful. It's helpful to hear you guys say, the extra reinforcement that, hey, it's possible you'll get there. And my sister is an example of that. The one that's sick. I have two sisters. The one that's sick. I come from a very creative family. Like we've all, like, thankfully our parents nurtured that creativity.
Nice.
All through life, and we're all very creative people. And she has a degree in international business, and I have so much respect for her. She's super smart. She gets everything done, like bam, bam, bam. Like she seems to like roll through everything like it's just a breeze. And she's actually my younger sister, and so she inspires me a lot to show me like what's possible. Mm-hmm. So she quit her corporate job about 2 years ago, and she's never been happier. Yeah. So
that's fantastic.
So, and she's the one. Sorry, go ahead, Richie.
I was just going to ask, so as far as the graphic design, are you a graphic designer for like a big corporation? Do you freelance, or how does that work for you?
Right now I work for a big marketing corporation, and my main clients, I have two main clients that I work on. Right now I'm doing email design for two large automotive companies. I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
That's up to
so they're ones that you see commercials for all the time. So I design their emails and a lot of production work mainly. Mm-hmm. But that's what I do right now. And before that, I came from a packaging design background and also publishing, print design. So I've worked on a lot of different things, and it's been about 20 years, and I don't know exactly when, but I've been burned out, to be honest, on corporate life for quite some time. And I've come to realize that it's because I'm in this creative job, but I don't really get to be creative. Yeah. And it's kind of killing my spirit.
Yeah.
So that's when I was like, all right, I got to do something for me. Mm-hmm. So
I know what you mean. I've worked for huge companies before too, and it seems like there's a lot of boundaries that come with it, So regardless of your role, even if it's creative, there's a wall here and a wall here, and like your job is right in the middle here. Like, mm-hmm. Don't peek over the cubicle because that's not yours. You just take what comes in this side and put it out the other side. So I definitely know what you mean.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's also been my experience too that the larger the client, the larger and more well known the client is, the less risks they're willing to take creatively too. So you're confined even more to like, oh, they only want blue. They're not going to like anything red. That's just way too crazy. So, it's like, come on.
Our last ad was blue and it didn't go horrible. So let's do that again.
People like blue.
Yeah. It's the safe way.
Yeah, small business is a huge difference from doing the corporate. And there's like 1,000 more things to do, but I like that too. I like the variety.
I do too. Yeah.
I was looking at your shop, speaking of variety, and you do have a nice variety of things in here. Like you have everything from headbands to spoons.
Yeah. And sometimes I'm like, am I just like too all over the place? But I think I'm still figuring it out. Like I feel like a year from now, I'm going to have my product line more settled of what's best for me. So right now I'm not really ruling out anything. So I do have a lot of different things in there.
Yeah, it sounded like even before you kind of got started on Etsy, you were maintaining a list of like, t-shirt ideas and things like that you still probably have some that you haven't actually built out yet on your Etsy shop. So it seems to make sense that you'd keep adding products and then seeing which ones are going to resonate the most with your target audience and kind of hone in on that as you keep going.
Yeah, I do. I have tons of ideas saved up in my phone that I've been adding. And a lot of them come about too, just like when I'm training with my team and people, there are a lot of like really goofy, sarcastic guys. We all get along great and they're pretty funny. So, things just come up in conversation. They'll be like, hey, you should put that on a t-shirt. And then I'll go write it down in my phone. So I hope I get the time to get my ideas out there.
I think you're doing the right thing. Trying things out is definitely the way to go. And I'm glad that you're not, scared to do that. You are putting yourself out there and doing these things. Actually, I just found it again because I knew I saw something in your shop that reminded me of that. And you have a shirt here that says risk something or get off the platform.
Yes.
I like that. That is good motivation.
Thanks. Yeah, I like that one too for myself. And a lot of the things like that, they're even reminders for myself. I second guess myself a lot, but even in powerlifting, when I just competed less than a month ago and it was my best meet yet. And I definitely made a huge risk on my last lift and I'm so glad I did it because it paid off.
Nice.
So yeah.
Right. Yeah. Don't leave anything to the imagination. Don't ever leave yourself wondering, could I have done something different? And if you put it all out there, then you don't have to ever carry those doubts. So that's awesome.
Right.
Yeah. Kind of along the lines of what you're saying about trying stuff out, Richie, too. I feel like having your Facebook group that you had, before you even got into Etsy and throwing those words of motivation out there into your group, you probably were able to find, which ones resonated with people, which ones people liked more than others, which one seems to work better than other ones. And that's a really good natural fit for trying out just the messaging before you even commit to adding it to any sort of product or anything like that.
Definitely. And that's also part of like, why I'm still like a lot of me, like I love doing the products that are mainly like for powerlifters because that's my personal passion. But I also really don't want to leave behind the people who might be like 150 pounds overweight and they're scared to go to the gym because they just are scared someone's going to make fun of them. I want to motivate those people and I want to make them feel included. It's not, fitness is not just for people who compete. It's for everybody because a lot of it too, I like to tell people like, if people are like, why are you going to the gym? I love that when people say they're going because they're training for life. Yeah. And that applies to everybody. So, that too, I have the powerlifting products, but then products that can be for anybody, because I think those people who are scared to work out because they don't know what they're doing and they're scared to even take a first step, they need the most like someone to just grab their hand and be like, come on, it's going to be okay. You're strong too. You can do this. So I want to have things that those people will feel good about too.
I think that's awesome. And I think your products are very in line with doing that, where you look at maybe shops that are trying to sell, like we talked about before, the apparel type stuff, the little cutesy things. Maybe the people that are in the situation where they feel like they're so far out of it that they can't really get into it, those things aren't even really going to help them at all. But something like your keychains that you have with your 45-pound weights on them, like that's cool. That could either be a simple reminder, right, that I need to go exercise and work out, whether it's at the gym or at home or whatever I want to do. Or maybe a goal, right? Maybe my goal is to get 45s on either end of the bar and be able to bench press that. Or maybe it's an achievement too, So something like that speaks a whole lot deeper, I think, across the whole spectrum of people who want to get into fitness. I think that's awesome.
Absolutely. You also have this keychain here that I really like. It says, "My story is not over," which I think is another one that can really apply to anybody. Because no matter if you are somebody, that is at the fitness goals you want to be, or like you said, is 150 pounds overweight and, wants to do something about it, something like that. I mean, you're not done being you. As long as, you're still above ground, right? Your story's not over. You have time to write more chapters.
Yeah.
So, whether you're your high point or a low point, wherever you may be, I like it. It's inspiring. This is good stuff. And I love that you're scratching your own itch with this. Like you have a powerlifting team and stuff like that. You started with a Facebook group like we talked about. Like, you have a really good connection to and vision, like what you want to do. Powerlifting, but also inspiring others and like really reaching people at like a core message.
Yep.
I think that's really powerful.
Yep.
I'm so glad that you guys get that feeling from it, because that's exactly what I want people to see and how I want people to feel about it. So
now
that's definitely what I pick up from it. So that is good.
And your sister Erica, sorry, no, you're fine. Your sister Erica had an Etsy shop a little bit before you, right? And hers is Avalon Sunshine. Is that right?
Yes, Avalon Sunshine.
And so in getting started with Etsy, is that something she encouraged you with, or you reached out to her? How did that come about?
She knew that we'll see. Where do I start? I had always thought it was a good idea. I wanted to have a line of fitness greeting cards, but I never knew what to do with it or how I was going to sell them. And I tried making a few handmade ones and sell them here and there. Mm-hmm. And she's always very super crafty with like the scrapbooking type of stuff. And so she was always talking about Etsy and showing me things on Etsy. And then, she evolved it into, she wanted to start her own shop. And then it evolved to where she was being successful with it. And it was awesome. And at that time, I loved it and I liked Etsy, but I didn't think there was room for me on Etsy because I feel like I'm not the typical Etsy shopper.
Okay. Talk more about that. Why would you say that?
Yeah. Etsy is for all types of people, obviously. And it's great when, there are even like men on Etsy because you don't see it as often. Mm-hmm. And maybe this is an unfair stereotype on my end, but I think it's pretty safe to say a lot of Etsy shoppers are moms and crafters. Mm-hmm. And obviously, crafters because of the handmade thing, but I've always loved the crafting, but I didn't really know, like, what am I going to make? Mm-hmm. And, being a designer, I do things on the computer, and I didn't know where there was room for me on Etsy. Mm-hmm. And I thought, fitness people aren't shopping on Etsy till I really looked, and I found out there are. And then I saw how my sister had her die cut machine, and I saw her using the vinyl to make mm-hmm. pillows. And then the wheels started turning more like, oh, I can use that on t-shirts. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. So, then it started evolving like that.
Gotcha.
So does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So in just going through this process of getting started on Etsy, obviously you've been there a pretty reasonable amount of time. It's not like you started yesterday, but in kind of getting up to speed and, working with your sister a little bit to understand the space, what sort of advice jumps out at you that you could share with other people who are kind of in that same situation right now where they're just first getting started on Etsy, and the advice that maybe really helped you out?
Well, I think what got me here to have this chat with you guys was finding Marmaleed. And I'm not just saying that. I know it probably sounds like people watching are going to be like, oh, sure, they told her to say that. But no.
We'll pay you after the video.
I was so excited. And that was the SEO on Etsy is so, so important. And so my sister, I told her when I was getting started and I saw these weird like headlines and I was like, why are people labeling their stuff this way? And she was like, all right, here's what you need. And she kind of gave me a brief rundown of what she's learned with the Etsy SEO. And she was like, you need to look up this website Marmaleed. And when I found you guys, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is like the missing piece to feeling like I know what I'm doing on Etsy. And it became more and more relevant to me that the SEO is so critical, and your keywords and your product titles and all that. And then it really started making a lot more sense. And at that point too, I was so scared to put products up. I had this mindset that like, I have to know what all my products are. I have to have every description pre-written, yeah. And then all at once, like overnight, boom, it's going to be there. And she's like, no. She's like, just start. She's like, you'll see there's more work involved than you even know at this point. So I finally like just started like 1 product, 2 products. And then I was like, I did see how it was a little bit overwhelming because there's a lot to do. Mm-hmm. The weighing the products and measuring and all of that kind of stuff, deciding who I was going to ship to, how I was going to ship it, making sure I had packaging ready, all that stuff. So finding Marmalead, it was fun for me because I love like nitpicky details and studying like statistics and stuff like that. So I had fun, and I'm still not done using it. Obviously, awesome. You can use it forever, but that was a big thing for me to realize, like I can really get in a groove and feel like more confident about my shop.
Awesome. Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that kind of that mentality you were saying before about feeling like you had to have kind of all of your products already defined and stuff like that. I feel like Etsy themselves kind of even tends to encourage that, because when you first set up your shop, before you can even really mess with any of your shop settings, you have to have a listing built, right? Like they make you fill out all of the stuff with your listing and the description and pick your tags and your title. And it's kind of like, it might feel a little backwards, but it also, I think, makes people feel like they have to have all of that stuff in line before they go ahead and open their shop and go ahead and start setting all their other things up too.
Yeah. And when I first, what really got me excited too was about, when was it? I think it was like the middle of April sometime when I found the Shop Fitness calculator on Marmalead. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I think I might have had like 18 to 20 products listed, and I knew they were a mess. I knew my SEO was horrible. And then I was like, well, this is actually like the perfect time to test my Shop Fitness on Marmalead, because I know it's a mess. I know it's going to improve. So I did it, and I took a screenshot and I left it there on my desktop so I could always see it. And so I would always remember, like, I got to work on this. And I'm sure I had like the first one, I'm sure I had like right off the bat, I had an F, which I wasn't supposed to. And then I put in some real effort with what the tools you guys have available. And then also just doing searches on Etsy SEO and reading advice that anyone had that was out there. And then I think it was in April, I took it again, and I think I had like a C-. And I was like, okay, that's a pretty decent jump up, but still not great by any means. And then I really made it more of a commitment to go through. What I did was I took each of my listings and I printed it out on a piece of paper. I don't know if you guys want to hear all this.
Oh, absolutely. This is fantastic.
Definitely.
So I took, because it felt overwhelming too. And I had a lot more products that I was continually adding. Right now, I think I have 62 products. So I think by the time I started printing out each piece of paper, let's say I had maybe like 40 products, and I printed each listing on a piece of paper so I could see all my keywords in the title. And then I made like a little chart underneath where based on what I had learned on Marmalead and then searching for how Etsy SEO works, I made a little grid, a column at the bottom of what I thought were the best keywords based on Marmalead and what I thought were the best keywords based on what I found on Etsy itself. Mm-hmm. And I would compare and then kind of build my titles from there. And there's a lot of overlap, obviously. Mm-hmm. I'd say maybe about 80% overlap. Mm-hmm. And so that was my method. And then I went through systematically one by one. And it took me about two to 3 months. Let's see, April, probably about 2 months to get through all of that. And then I took the Marmalead Shop Fitness test again, and I was up to an A-.
Nice.
So I was really excited. And I think that's when I tweeted at you guys and we connected on there. I don't know who's behind that, but that's how I got to here. And I know I still have lots more improvement to do. So I'm excited to keep working on it.
That's awesome.
Fantastic.
That's really
great.
You're
no stranger to Sorry. You're definitely no stranger to the effort it takes to get you to where you want to go too. I mean, I can definitely see a parallel there with the powerlifting, right? You can't just, jump in one day and be like, I'm going to go win, like
Right.
you can't just walk in and use your natural talent to, to just crush it. And like, there's not like a shortcut there. It's small gains that build up over time. And then when you take a break, I've never done competitive lifting, but from my own experience with working out, like you do not start again where you left off. You don't start again anywhere close.
Exactly.
And it's like, it seems so small. It's like you're going up a couple pounds at a time.
Exactly. Yeah. Like after I competed, little less than a month ago, I gave myself like a week off. Like I was like, I'm just gonna take a break. And then, life stuff happened, and then I was having migraines, and so I have not lifted consistently for all of July, and I'm going back to training tonight, and I'm scared because I know it's not gonna be the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. That's cool that you made that correlation. It is all about the steady plugging along and staying committed to improving. So yeah.
I see that the same type of people are really successful in whether it's an Etsy shop business or just like business type endeavors in general are also successful in those other types of endeavors, right? Because they're the ones that can do a routine and kind of grind that out and understand that those small increments compound into something huge.
Yeah. Yeah. And it does pay off in the end if you put in the effort. So, and I love the worksheets that you guys have and how it, if you're checking twice a day for your keyword. Yeah. So if anybody's listening, haven't tried the worksheets, those are really cool too, because that's another method I had not thought about. And I tried it with brand new because I had something that was, my keywords were for Father's Day. And since that's gone now, I need to change my title and my keywords. So I started there. And I started it today, but I'm excited to keep doing it consistently to see where it ends up. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. I hope it works out for you. I mean, obviously, I think the worksheets aren't for everybody, right? Some people might not have the patience for it or whatever, or don't really get motivated by something like that. But I think for someone like you, who's more analytical and enjoys the nitty gritty of the numbers and stuff, I think that you're probably really going to get into it and filling those out.
Yeah, I think it's great. And you guys have some really cool tools on there.
Thanks. We try.
That we do. Yeah, we're always trying to innovate and do something to give sellers an edge. Absolutely.
I appreciate it. Really do.
Now,
there's always this bit of like human psychology that goes into it. Like that's part of the worksheets too, right? Like even if you're, whether you're organized or disorganized, I like to think I'm organized, but I think I'm like organized in a disorganized way. It helps to have something to kind of guide you along, right?
Yeah.
Something to kind of fill out and kind of keep you honest.
Yep.
I've started making a list of things to do daily that pop up on my to-do list. And then if I don't swipe them off, they're still there from yesterday. So I can see how long it's actually been since I've neglected this thing. But, if you don't have it in front of you, it's so easy to just say, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely, and as we get busier and busier all the time too, I think it's important to keep track of that stuff because there's more to forget. So it's more important to hold yourself accountable for the sake of being as productive as you can be.
Yep. So. I think one of the other keys too is, like micro goals. So don't set your goal as like, I want to have 1,000 sales, right? And I'm starting at 0. So the worksheets help with that a little bit too, but you kind of talked about it too with even fitness and stuff like that, or even the Shop Fitness calculator you talked about it with, where you didn't want to go like from an F to an A right away, right? But like seeing the progress of going to a C- and then saying, okay, well that's good, right? And enjoy that progress of that kind of mini goal there. But I still don't feel I'm done with this, right? I want to really kill this, so I'm going to put in more energy, more effort there, and set myself another goal to incrementally improve from there. And I think that's a lot of what it's about. Now, when you're putting in all this effort and all this energy, have you really focused on like just Etsy and all your effort there, or have you kind of started spreading out to other platforms like Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook? Where has your focus really been in this?
My focus has really been Etsy for now. When I put new products on there. I love Instagram, so I do use it several times a week, not every single day. But I do think it's important to build an audience there, especially because being that I sell a physical product, the imagery is important, and Instagram is all about the images. Plus having a pretty decent following in the fitness community on my personal account helps. So a lot of people have been supportive by following my business account.
Nice.
And so I love Instagram, but a lot of my focus has been on Etsy. I feel like I still don't have I don't have nearly as strong of a grasp as I plan to. So I've been doing it about 6 months, and I still have so many products that I just need to upload. I need to, take the pictures and get them edited and write my descriptions. So I still don't feel like I have my product line like where I want it to be. And there'll always be new things, but yeah, so I'm still focused on Etsy for the most part.
Now, photography, real quick, you kind of just jumped into that. Is that something as a graphic designer you feel more comfortable with, taking your own photos and editing those yourself? Or what does your process look like for how you go about doing your photos for your product line?
Editing, I'm totally comfortable with because I've done that as, in graphic design world. I did have some photography classes as part of my requirement for my degree. And also my dad was actually a photographer.
Cool.
He passed away when I was in high school, but I feel like he even taught me a lot the times where I would just sit there and, watch him do his photography. So right now, all I did was I bought a light box that's big enough. It's, I think, 36 by 36. So it's big enough to fit my t-shirts into, even though I have a lot of smaller jewelry. So I have a light box. I just bought a kit on Amazon. I think I picked like a middle of the road one because I don't have a lot of money to invest right now on supplies. And I would love to have a professional camera, but I'm just using my iPhone. And then I usually just have to brighten it up or balance the colors a little bit. And then I also found out too, because my objects are reflective, that definitely makes photography a lot more challenging. So I have all kinds of crazy things rigged up in my light box with because I even have to hide my tripod and hide my phone from reflecting. Or sometimes those are the things that take the longest to edit. So just
take yourself out of the photos.
Yeah. So, but it's fun. I like that stuff, but it does take time.
These photos look really good. You took all these with your iPhone?
Yeah, I did. I did some research on that too, like the best way to take great product photos with an iPhone. And I found one tutorial, and I can't remember the guy's name, but he recommended an app. It's just Camera Plus. And I think I paid like $9.99 for the pro version, but it's been worth it because it gives you a lot more control and flexibility with what your phone can actually do. So yeah,
I actually have that Camera Plus. I think it sounds really familiar. I think it might have been one of those Starbucks, if you're not familiar with it, Starbucks in their app has these app of the week or something like that. And they'll sponsor a lot of different paid apps on there that you can grab. I've grabbed a couple things, like there's some kids ones, and then I think Camera Plus was one of them. But yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off, but Camera Plus, you're right, it does have a lot of extra settings that, quite frankly, I don't know how to use, but if I looked it up, I could definitely see how that'd be really helpful.
Yeah, and it actually lets you save the photos at much higher quality than you'd be able to if you didn't use the app, which I don't know how that stuff works, but it's so far for me, it's been fine, I think, till I can buy a fancy camera.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. These look really good. So
they do.
They're really sharp. And, what I'm looking at here is this keychain. And so I have to imagine it's fairly small. And yeah, you did a great job capturing all the details and everything. So it looks really good.
Thank you. Yeah, maybe some of my college education hopefully paid off a little bit finally.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Fun stuff. Let's see. I want to take a look at some of these other notes from that you sent back to us, which is great. So we may have even asked, and I've already forgotten, but so what got you into like the fitness and powerlifting to begin with? What is this something you've done for a very long time?
It's trends. It's gone through phases. I was, let's see, I'll start. Okay, I'll go through it quickly.
Okay.
My high school dance team was very important to me. We were very competitive. When I started college, I missed it. So I started teaching fitness classes, got certified, loved it. And then I tried out for the college dance team, loved it, kept teaching group fitness classes. And then eventually through the years, I felt like I needed more of a challenge in the fitness world. And I decided to enter a bodybuilding contest. And I don't know if you're familiar with bodybuilding shows, but there's a category called bikini where it's basically you don't have the big muscle mass, but you just have to get very lean. Mm-hmm. And I competed in that, and I actually didn't like how it made me feel. I felt, even though I was very lean and you could see muscle, mm-hmm. I felt really skinny. And I'm pretty tall too. I'm 5'7", so, and I just felt like skinny, like somebody could like push me over. And I had always had friends who were powerlifters and gone and supported them and thought it was cool, but I thought, yeah, whatever. I can't do that stuff. But they'd always be nudging me like, come on, you're next. And I'd be like, yeah, whatever. But eventually I think I heard it enough times that I was like, all right, well, I'll just go train with you. And then I fell in love with it. And so I've been doing powerlifting for about 2.5 years, I think.
Oh, nice.
So. And I feel really lucky that I live close to a powerlifting gym, which a lot of people don't have that access. So I feel lucky too that I just happen to live close enough to where I can get the proper training to know what I'm doing.
That is fortunate. That's good. It's definitely something you probably don't want to do without the proper training.
Yeah.
Definitely sounds like a good way to get hurt then.
Yes. It is. And unfortunately, I've seen a lot of people get hurt.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So,
that sounds scary.
But we do it for the love of the sport. It's fun. So hopefully I can stay in one piece for years to come.
Let's hope so. I'm sure you will. It sounds good. It sounds like you're in it for the right reasons. You're in it for the fitness aspect and everything, and that's fantastic.
Thanks.
And the strength, I like that. It's a good theme.
Yeah, and also like another aspect, it kind of goes into the keychain you mentioned. My story is not over. Your story is not over. This is something that with my blog that I'm starting to also kind of work into more products is kind of a promise that I've made for myself, because it's not easy for me, but the times I have talked about it, it has paid off where people have been grateful that, because I've also struggled with a lot of depression and anxiety through the years with different life events that have happened. And I always really felt a lot of shame because of the stigma that it holds, and, kind of struggled in silence aside from the people close to me that saw me struggling. And I feel like probably about a year ago, I really went through a big personal change where I was like, you know what, I'm going to take control of this instead of letting it control me. And I've kind of started to talk about it a little bit more. And I do want to start offering more products to where that's related, because I've also found that there are a lot of people in powerlifting and different aspects of fitness, but a lot of personal friends in powerlifting who struggle with depression and anxiety. And we also find that lifting is a good therapy. Mm-hmm. So I feel that there's that way to wrap it into everything as well.
Now, what got you to that point where you were, ready to kind of take charge and make that change for yourself? How, sometimes it's a hard thing to do for someone who's in that situation, but was there anything that really bumped you into that mode, or how did that change happen?
Pretty much just being fed up with feeling depressed and seeing my anxiety mess up situations in my life, and knowing that, just really being real with myself of this is my fault that I acted this way, or this is, I don't have to just say, well, I'm just an emotional person and these things happen, or, just taking responsibility for it. And so I really just kind of like, I remember last summer, I remember sitting right in this very spot with my computer, like subscribing to every like life coach newsletter and things like that I could find, and podcasts and emails and webinars. And so I just like dove in, and it really, something worked, and it really made me kind of see things a lot differently and learned a lot about myself. And I think if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have started my Etsy shop.
That's awesome. I mean, I think it sounds like that whole idea of like just diving in and getting into something is a consistent theme throughout all of the different things you've approached in your life. It seems like you're really good at kind of getting in there and knowing you're going to have to put in this effort, and there's not going to be a quick win in almost any situation you encounter. The more work you put in, the better things are going to go. And to have that kind of drive and to be able to jump into things, I think is going to make you successful no matter what you're targeting. You've set your sights on leaving your corporate job now. And if you're jumping in with the same grit that it sounds like you are, and that you've demonstrated in other areas of your life too, I think only good things are going to happen from that.
Thanks. And yeah, I do. I have had people tell me like, I'm very like black and white. Like there's not a lot of gray area with me. Like I'm either all in or I'm all out.
All in. Hey, that was like the Cleveland Cavaliers thing they always said with LeBron James.
Oh, whoops. I should know that. Shame on me for saying that.
You're a big LeBron fan, right?
No. Don't be putting that rumor out there.
Nice. So you made me think of this book called Resilience. Have you heard of it?
No, I haven't.
So it's called Resilience, and it's by an ex-Navy SEAL, Eric Greitens. I think that's how you say his last name. I'm not positive, but it's Greitens. But it's a really good book. It's kind of a long book from what I remember, but it was a really great book about how he was helping like a fellow Navy SEAL that was in, we'll call it his team. I'm not sure what they call him, but I think it's a team. Anyways, he was helping his friend out who was having a lot of trouble when he came back. Because, again, I feel like a lot of these type of things happen with people with a lot of energy and a lot of passion. Like, once you can throw it all over into something, when you don't have somewhere to put it, like, it just goes everywhere. And like, so he was having a lot of trouble with, PTSD and like depression and drinking and stuff like that. And he was throwing himself full into those things. Like with the same intensity you would throw into being a Navy SEAL, he was throwing that into like heavy drinking. So you can imagine that's not going great. Well, Eric, the guy who wrote the book, he took basically letters that they had been writing back and forth to each other on a daily basis. They've been writing letters and talking on the phone about all of this. And the guy, Eric, I don't remember what his major was in, but it was something to do with like history and philosophy. So he brings out a lot of like even like ancient Rome type of
cool
stories and stuff like that and puts in the book. And it's really interesting to see the perspective. But the whole book is really about resilience. It's about having grit and how much the human spirit is really like built around that, and how far we've come as people, and how essential resilience is still in our modern day life and everything, and like how to handle it and the different ways that different people handle it. So it's a good read, and actually you might be able to find some great inspiration for your product line from it. Since you mentioned that was kind of a direction, he in there talks a lot about, because depression was one of those things he was helping with. So he talks about a lot of different motivating things, and as well as some different studies about kind of alternative things that work. So like not the medication type route, but the kind of like taking it head on kind of thing. It was really interesting. It was a moving book.
That sounds like a good book. I'll have to look it up. Cool. Yeah. And I also, I think I'm glad that I've finally gotten to a point where I can talk about it more. And also I'm becoming so much more aware of how many people deal with this kind of stuff. And they are scared to talk about it because there is such a stigma. And it's very easy to sit on the couch and eat and watch Netflix when you're depressed and not be active. And like I said before, being active is just such an important part of life and sustaining general health. So I want to also be able to get the word out there to just help people that, you know, if you can go for a 10-minute walk, that's better than nothing. Or, you know, it doesn't have to be a powerlifting competition. So.
That's a great point there too. I feel like a very common belief is that if you're not going to go to the gym and do a full workout for like an hour and a half, then why even go at all? And it's like, you know, if you went for just 10 minutes and said, okay, I'm done, that's a lot better than nothing. It's a lot better than the alternative.
Yeah.
And 10 minutes might turn into 30. 30 might turn into an hour.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, baby steps. I mean, it goes back to even what we were saying about listings, and you don't have to have all your listings planned out. Just start with one listing, you know, and in taking those incremental steps, you're gonna move forward much better than if you wait until everything's all ready at once, or you can go and do everything at once.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah, I feel like there's just a ton of parallels between anything you want to do in life. Like it takes the same, I want to say formula, right? Obviously, like it has to be like higher level, but it's kind of the same formula. It's looking at where you want to be and taking small steps to get there. You know, if you want to walk 1,000 miles, it's pretty much the same as driving 1,000 miles. You know, you're gonna pretty much take the same route, right? Yeah. Shortest distance is the same. Yeah. Just a different mean of transport.
Yeah. And like one kind of mantra in my head that keeps me motivated, and whether it's fitness or knowing, you know, I need to spend this time on my shop, even though I'm exhausted, is just, I have these little conversations in my head like, oh yeah, you don't want to do that? Well, then you don't want it bad enough. I'm like, oh yeah, I do want it bad enough. And then I get moving. So, because I think if you know, for me, if I just remind myself like, oh, well, then you don't want it bad enough. Then it's kind of like a little bit of trash talk to myself, which, you know, self-deprecating isn't always healthy. But, you know, in a way that it's like I just remind myself, like, how bad do you want it? Well, if you want it, then do something.
That's awesome. I like that. Right. It's like keeping yourself honest about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's something I had said probably more than once before. But when people say they don't want to work on this or this is hard and this and that, and it's like, well, that's what your competitors want you to think. Your competitors want you to think you're done. Your competitors want you to take a rest. Your competitors want you to feel tired, you know? So they're your competitors. Like, do you want them to, you know, make you feel tired? Or, you know, you want to, you know, go out a little bit more, go another round, right? Yeah. Wait till they take a nap.
Yep. That's so true. Yep.
Now, in all of your experience with Etsy, what would you say is your biggest surprise? What in all of this has surprised you the most since you've gotten started?
I would say how much I'm getting found, honestly, that it is possible to get found. I know a lot of people struggle with that, but if you do, like we keep saying, take the steps and work on what you know you should do to improve, that it's possible. You know, because I look at my competitors on Etsy and there's some really cool stuff out there. There's also some not so great stuff out there, to be honest, right? Like stuff that needs a lot more improvement than I do. So, but there's a lot of like really, really good stuff where I look at them like, wow, they like really have their stuff together. They know what they're doing. They're probably making tons of money. And then, you know, when I get the little alerts on my phone, like so-and-so liked your product. And it's like, oh, I'm still like, people are finding me. That's pretty cool.
It's a great feeling.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. That's encouraging too.
One of the things I feel like is when new sellers are coming onto Etsy and, you know, they're looking for information, stuff like that, what they find is a lot of other people that are looking like they're in the same spot. You know, they're all kind of struggling together. They're the ones that are vocal out there. That's why it's so nice when we have guests like yourself on the show that can talk about, you know, are willing to share and everything about what's working and what's not working and stuff like that, and show them that, like, look, this is possible. Because if all you do is talk to people who, you know, are having the same problem, it feels like, well, everyone has this problem. There's no way out, and you feel completely stuck. But you got to talk to the people that like aren't down in the hole with you. You got to talk to the people that are up here and can pull you out, you know? Like they figured out how to get up here.
Yeah. And another thing that I've realized in the last few months too was, I started joining all the Facebook groups that are, Etsy and handmade. And there's, fortunately, I don't know if I should say this, there's a lot of negativity. And I realized I was wasting a lot of time just reading people complaining. Mm-hmm. And once I realized that and I turned the notifications off, then I can realize I have more time to spend being productive for myself because I don't have complaints about those things myself. I'm doing the best I can with my customers and making them happy. So that's all that really matters too. And I think another important thing is to just keep in mind that your journey is your journey, and where you are, it's not fair to compare where you are in the process to other people because everyone's at their own place with the whole overall picture.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. I think the negativity that you mentioned too, we see that a lot all over the place too. And on the one hand, it's really natural for people when they have negative experiences to want to share that and communicate that, and it helps them feel better about it. But at the same time, even if you haven't experienced that and you're reading about it, it almost plants a seed in your head now so that you're kind of looking for that. And then you start to feel like you're noticing these things and experiencing them too, where before you had exposed yourself to that, maybe you would have totally let it slide under the covers and not even had a second thought about it.
Exactly.
Right? You get that in your head, and then it's a confirmation bias.
Yeah.
You're looking for reasons to support that belief, as opposed to looking for bright spots, reasons to believe that it's possible, right? And if you start there, then it's like, oh, look, here's a glimmer of hope. There's a glimmer of hope. There's a glimmer of hope. And, it's also hard and it's easy to get discouraging. Like you said, when you look at some of the competitors who have some really great stuff out there, right, and are selling a ton, and you're like, oh, they must be so successful. And it's really important for sellers to look and say, okay, look, that shop has been around since 2006. It is 2016. They have been at it for 10 years. So that's 10 years of, every new customer is a potential referral, is a potential repeat customers. You get 10 years of that. And if you're a newer shop and you're getting any customers at all, well, that's fantastic because every one of them is a potential referral. Every one of them is a potential repeat customer. So, if you sell one every day, which right off the bat would be really difficult, I know, but if you get to a point where you even sell one a day, that's 365 a year times 10, right?
Yeah.
You really start compounding that.
Yeah, definitely. And it was I had a cool moment about a week ago. I was at my sister's house because I needed help. I'm still learning to go through the quarterly taxes and all that stuff. And so she was helping me with that. So we had our laptop set up, and I opened up my laptop to my shop, my Etsy shop. I was like, look, I just had my 100th sale. And I was so excited. It was cool that she got to see it with me. She's like,
that's great.
You have 100 already? That's really good. And it was cool that she thought it was really good that I reached that many sales already. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, congratulations. That's an awesome milestone.
Now I can't wait to get to 200.
That's right.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. Step by step, and you'll get there. That's awesome.
1,000.
In time, right?
Yeah.
And it just goes faster because you get every sale's another opportunity.
Momentum. Yeah. I really think the momentum thing is big. So you mentioned the caffeine before. Actually, I'm just starting to take a few sips of a Monster drink here and there.
Oh, no, don't do it.
So, and I keep trying to hold off because I know if things go the way I hope they will, in a few months, I'm going to really need the whole thing. So,
drinking a case of Monster a day.
I'm trying to not get too hooked until I really need it.
It's dangerous.
So Monster, if you're listening, there's an up and coming customer here.
That's right.
But I will welcome the nights when I have so many sales that I have to stay up until 3 a.m. to get them done. That's fine.
Right. It's a good problem to have.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think one of the other things that sellers struggle with too when they're first getting started is sifting through all the noise, because there's a lot of information out there for Etsy sellers, and it can be easy to get distracted on these little side things that seem maybe really important at the time. But then after you spend a bunch of time on it, you realize, okay, that was a complete waste of my time, right? Now, it sounds like you've done a really good job of kind of sidestepping those potholes and only finding the things that you feel like are going to be useful to spend your time on. Do you have any sort of compass that guides you through that? Like, how do you decide what is worth your time and what might not be worth your time?
I'm so like analytical with things. It's funny you would ask that. Like, I've literally made a mental system for myself, because I did, when I started my shop, I subscribed to everything, became part of every group. And then I, started realizing it's too much. It's taking away from my productivity. Like, so with my emails, if I get 5 emails from somebody that I signed up for and I don't care about any of them, that's a sign for me to unsubscribe. So if they've sent me 5 in a row and I think like, whatever, then I just unsubscribe. And not to be mean, I like to be supportive, but you do have to clear out that noise. It's so important. And I signed up for a lot. Let me just say, I signed up for a lot. So.
I do that too. I get in these like routines where these ups and downs where I'm like, yeah, especially when I'm trying to learn something.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a great way to jump into things. You go looking for some resources. Of course, you have to sign up for their newsletter to get the bonus guide or whatever, the ebook that they want to send you. So then you do that, and then they start sending you some emails or email courses, and those are great. And I'll consume it. I'll dive in. I'll learn all that stuff. But then I'm still on their list. And then that's kind of when the promotions start.
Yeah.
And when they stop giving me value, like you said, it's like, okay, if all you're going to do is keep pitching me and there's not the value, right? Like, it's okay to have promotions. Just don't make that every single email, right?
Right.
So the ones that don't do that get to stay in my inbox. But otherwise, I have to get really vigilant. And it's like, okay, the next email that comes in that's not helpful and it's more of a distraction, I'm unsubscribing from the list. And if I need that information again, I'm going to go back and get it.
Yeah. And I also do just check myself, like when I'm having a week where I'm just feeling frazzled and pulled in too many directions, I'd have to force myself, take a step back and be like, okay, what's slowing me down, honestly? And there have been times where I've been like, emails, and I'll just go in, I'll go into my trash and be like, all right, unsubscribe from at least 3 of these, because I don't need 200 emails a day for people that aren't even, what's the word? Like providing some kind of asset to what I'm trying to achieve. So yeah, it's important. You got to be honest with yourself about that kind of stuff, which you guys know, but if that's helpful to anybody else.
Oh yeah. And even if you know it, I mean, it's a good reminder, because it's a slippery slope. I know better, and I still find myself in these situations where I have more email in my inbox than I can deal with. And then it's just like, it's something I avoid, but it still takes like mental taxing. Yeah. And then you spend it like a couple hours, like, okay, going through everything, unsubscribing, deleting, like all this stuff to get back to 0. So you can feel like zen again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know better.
And when Periscope, I was really big into Periscope starting like last summer and through, like the following like 6 to 8 months. And then I realized I'm spending so much time on Periscope watching business coaches. What am I actually doing? And so I felt bad unsubscribing, but I stayed subscribed to the ones that I really liked. And then I also turned off my notifications, and I feel bad I don't watch their Periscopes anymore. They're there if I feel like I have spare time, but to be honest, it doesn't happen. And that's okay, because I'm being productive. So that's what matters to me right now.
I think it's super important to feel good about what you're doing. Like, more important than, I don't want to say more important than what you're doing, but right up there with what you're doing, feeling good about what you're doing is super important.
Yeah. And luckily, I'm really thankful that my family and my close friends are super understanding, because I really don't make time to hang out and socialize and stuff like that. Like, they know my priority is my business right now until I really get to a point that I feel good about. And I'm so glad that they've been understanding, because I've missed a lot of things that I've been invited to. But I'm glad they understand that it's for a reason.
That's good. That's awesome. You have a good support network.
Absolutely.
I would definitely encourage, any sellers, anybody jumping into business, or I guess anything new at all, right? having a support network really helps. Whether that's working out, starting a business, just anything. They have book clubs for a reason too, right? It keeps people reading the books.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to read the book because in a week you're going to be talking to like 6 other people that have read that. Well, should have also read the book.
Totally. Yep.
So it's nice to have support.
Yeah.
Is there something that you would recommend in your experience so far with Etsy that that other sellers should kind of shy away from? Things that, like, did you make any mistakes that they can avoid?
I'm sure tons of mistakes that I'm still trying to iron out. Mistakes. Well, I would just caution anybody from holding back. If actually, okay, let me start over. I think a mistake that I was tending to make when I started was wanting to take everybody's advice of friends and family that didn't even understand my vision. Like, oh, you should do this t-shirt. Oh, look at this cute t-shirt I found. It's so cute. You can do this. You could steal their exact idea. And, I was like, well, if they want that on a shirt, I should do it. But now I feel comfortable saying I have my ideas. We can maybe talk about it if I run out of ideas, which I know won't happen. And you don't have to take the advice. So my advice would be you don't take the advice of everything that everyone's going to throw at you when you're starting a business, because people who don't even understand what you're trying to do are going to be like, you should do this. And you don't have to listen to them. That would be my big thing.
I think that's really good advice. I think that's really good advice.
Thanks.
I know pretty much no matter what you tell people you're into, someone has heard of something else. Like, oh, I do something with software. Oh, you should make a social media app because those are really popular. Facebook's huge. It's like, we don't do that.
Yeah. Like probably the craziest one I've heard when I say, oh, I make handmade bracelets that are, for the fitness community, is that I actually had somebody say like Fitbits, you should make one of those. Like it tracks blah blah blah. Like, do you know how much money I would need to invest? Like a couple million, maybe.
I think that's a good idea. You should make one of those. You should definitely.
Yeah. Why didn't we think of this?
Prototype tonight. Should be in my shop in a couple days.
Yeah, no problem. Couple phone calls, no problem.
The actual technological gadget.
That's really funny. That is a good one. You should tell that story a lot. That's a good story.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys get the comedy of it, because in my head I was like, am I understanding this correctly? Like, are you kidding me right now?
And then you have to kind of politely respond and say, oh, I'm not going to do that, but thanks for the idea.
Yeah. And that was actually one big piece of advice I literally asked my sister, like, I need advice, because so many people were wanting to give me their ideas, and I know I tend to be very blunt, very upfront, very like, this is how it is, this is how it's not, and she's very she has a much nicer way of approaching things to make sure she doesn't upset anybody, and I kind of I'm just very blunt. So I literally asked her, how do I tell people their ideas are stupid without telling them their ideas are stupid?
What'd she say? How do you do it?
She said she usually just tells people oh, okay, thanks for the idea. And then just move on, and everyone will forget about it anyway. So I have tried to take that advice just to simplify things so I don't offend people.
That's awesome. I like that. Yeah, fortunately, those ideas that people come up with like that typically end there, so they're not going to spend the next hour and a half telling you about how to implement it.
Right. Yeah.
That'd be a little bit more challenging.
Yeah.
It's like, I shouldn't have asked you to tell me more.
My head would explode.
Maybe that's where lots of Kickstarters come from.
Maybe.
And that's why they never happen.
Or yeah, I could just turn it around and then be like, how about you execute that idea?
There you go. That is a great idea. You should own that.
and be like, let me know how that goes.
You should put that on Kickstarter, and as soon as you reach, I don't know, $1 million, and I'll jump in with you.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I like that.
Good stuff. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been fantastic.
Thank you.
This has been fun.
Everyone out there, check out Kelly's shop. It's FitFizz, FitFizz. And while you're at it, check out Erica's shop too. She was supposed to be with us. Hope she feels better. Pass along my well wishes for her. Hers is Avalon Sunshine. So check out both of those. But
Thank you so much, guys.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad this worked out. It was really great having you on. Really unique story, and loved hearing about your product line and your passion that you have behind it. So it's fantastic. Thanks for taking the time to do this.
Thanks. I appreciate it. It was fun. Have a good day.
It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Everyone else, we will see you guys next time on Etsy Jam.